Welcome back. We know Mayor John Tory here in the city of Toronto has been in self-isolation for the past few days, but a lot has changed over the last few days. So let's bring him in now, joining us via Skype. Good morning to you, Mayor.
Good morning, Melanie.
First, let's begin here. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine. I have no symptoms, never did have any, but I'm following our own instructions, which is because I've been out of the country selling Toronto and London. I was to self-isolate for the 14 days, and I can just tell you that my days have been very full. I mean, I'm between teleconferences, which most people are doing now, and interviews like this and so on. I'm working, kind of as many hours as ever, but the difference is I haven't put a pair of shoes on, as I was telling you, in 4 or 5 days. Literally, I have not put on shoes because I walk around my place in my socks, and I haven't seen another human being. And the most frequently asked question when I do these interviews, by the way, is, are you wearing pants?
And
to which my answer is, no comment.
Okay, no comment it is. But by the way, shoes are overrated if you don't need to wear them.
Well, they said to me, I said, should I put a tie on? Because I'm trying to make sure people know that I'm,
Sure.
doing my job as mayor and so on. And people said, how weird would it be for you to be sitting around your place at home by yourself in isolation wearing a tie? And I said, good point.
That's very fair. Very valid point. Okay, let's get to the business, because there are a number of serious topics we want to get to. One, I know you just had the big city mayor's call. So talking to a number of the mayors across the GTA chain, as well through the federal level. What is the big message right now? Because there are a lot of people worried, especially when it comes to the economics.
I think the message is help is on the way. I'm very confident from my discussions with the other mayors and the Deputy Prime Minister last night that the package that will be announced by the federal government today will include help for people who are experiencing, financial cash flow liquidity problems, and for businesses that are in the same boat. And I think that they understand the objective here has to be not just to provide that help, but to provide it soon and to provide it in a way that is simple. And I think there'll be a good start based on what the Deputy Prime Minister said last night on that. And I think that's what's most important to people right now.
We are constantly hearing the updates fronted by Chief Matthew Pegg and Dr. Eileen de Villa, Toronto Public Health, currently sitting at a level 3 when it comes to the city's response. What does that mean for a level 3, and what does it mean to escalate?
I mean, frankly, for people out there watching on City TV, it doesn't mean anything. It simply means that when the provincial emergency was declared yesterday, the city emergency operation rose up a level, and it doesn't mean there's going to be anything happening beyond the orders we've seen. So the instructions for people remain the same. Stay home. Don't go to crowd scenes. If you have symptoms, then you should, first of all, probably consult the website to do some self-assessment and so on. But it doesn't mean people have to do anything beyond what we've already been asking, which is please stay home and stay away from crowds. It really is more of an indication of how we're running the operations of the city, consistent with the provincial emergency, to deliver services to people, to make sure they know what's open and what's closed and all of that. So people need not worry about it being escalated to level 3.
And indeed, they do work hand in hand with the province. We put it out there to them on social media, Mayor. Just a number of questions for you. So I just want to read out a couple questions, and hopefully you can provide some answers or some insight here. The first one coming to us from Jeff, saying, why has the city not suspended parking ticket operations for people? A lot of them are working from home. They have to park on streets that perhaps have no parking zones during the day.
Well, first of all, we don't instruct the police and parking enforcement officers as to what to do, because obviously people wouldn't want politicians directing that. But I will say this was raised with me yesterday, and I have taken it up with them, and they're having a look at what they're doing, because I agree we have to be much more sensitive to the fact that more people are home during the day and this kind of thing. So stay tuned. I can't guarantee they're going to change their policy, but I've certainly asked them to take a look at it. And I've also, just so that we can cover it off, asked them to take a look at the whole business of renewal of parking permits and whatnot. That is actually fairly easy to do, but I don't want people put to extra kind of bureaucratic hassle when they're forced to stay at home and may not have the same ability to do these things. So we'll have an update on that, and perhaps when we next chat, or I can even let you know that we have heard back from the police and parking enforcement people as to what they're planning to do during this unusual time.
Please do. Yeah, I think that's a question we're getting a lot of. Another one, people along the same lines are asking about taxi cabs and Ubers, cleanliness, what the rules are. Can you give us any insight into that world at all, if any changes have been made?
It's the first time I've been asked about that. And one of the great things about me answering questions on television and radio is that I get these questions, like the parking one, hadn't really occurred to me necessarily because I'm not parking any cars these days. So I will take that back because I think it's a valid concern. We're saying to people now, of course, any chance you get, please use a wet wipe to disinfect things and so on. And it stands to reason that when people are in these kind of shared ride vehicles, whether it be taxis or otherwise, that they should be, either they or the driver or both should be doing something. So I will go back on that because I think it's a really important question if we're going to ask people not to be out and not to be in cabs, frankly, or Uber vehicles at all if they can avoid it. But if some people have to, then we should be having some precautions that people understand should be taken just to, again, contain the spread of this virus.
Absolutely. And the remainder of our questions really have to do with the retail space. And I think most of that, I assume, would be coming from a provincial level versus a municipal level, yes? When it comes to closures.
Well, that's a very
spaces.
insightful comment on your part, because I raised it again with the Chief Medical Officer of Health this morning already. I'm asking every day about the retail space, meaning in particular malls, which is a most frequently asked question of me, and also grocery stores and so on about things like overcrowding. And I will just say that what we're counting on for the moment is the sort of common sense of retailers to take measures to avoid overcrowding in stores. With respect to malls, it's a very delicate kind of question because we want to have adequate numbers of stores left open to people to get things they need, but at the same time, we don't want to see a crowding. And what the medical officer of health said this morning is that the most effective kind of order, if there was ever to be one in that regard, would come from the province because they have broader powers than we do, but that we're not at the stage where we're advocating that yet. And we're watching it every single day. And if it becomes a problem where she identifies that too many people are crowded in too close quarters at malls, then I will raise that with the Premier. I talked to him about it last night on the telephone. So we're watching it day by day because we realize people are noticing that as an apparent inconsistency, if I can call it that, relative to, say, restaurants which are closed.
It is, yes. Mayor Tory, appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll check in with you tomorrow again.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer the questions. I think it's one of the most valuable roles that I can play for people because they have a lot of worries out there, but they're doing a great job. Please just follow the instructions we have on the self-isolating and the social distancing, and we'll be better off for it.
Absolutely. Okay, take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. 8:27, your time right now. We're taking a break.